begin.
Thank you all for coming. What this is it's a project to build something extraordinary. The name of the project is The Next Page, Transforming the World Through Education. And what this project is about creating something that is inspirational and something that you can put your, not necessarily faith into, but your heart behind, and create something wonderful in the world that is in your own image. So the goal of this is really, it's a community project. It's not something that I'm doing. It's not going to be accomplished specifically through one person. It takes a community to build anything. And so you are that community. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming here tonight. I know that it has come out, it's been raining and sleeting and freezing outside, and spending your evening with me is, it's your time and attention. I do appreciate that. So thank you for coming. And with that, Jason, I want to ask you to go to the next slide, please. Okay, so as I was saying before, you're the Seattle community. We are an educated community that leads many industries in the world. Seattle is a very high education per capita amongst the United States and the world. And I think that education is very important to everyone here in this room and to many else in the world, not just inside the United States and developed countries. And I want tonight to be an opportunity to demonstrate Seattle's leadership, especially in education, by creating a school where a school did not exist before. So there are a lot of places in the world that lack education, and there are a lot of problems in the world that I think that you can identify very easily, that lots of organizations attack by various ways, by feeding people or providing vaccines, or you name it. There are problems to be solved. And the reason that this project is tackling education is that education is really at the core of a lot of those problems. So it's kind of like attacking the root of the problem before you're patching and fixing things down the line. You're actually creating a future where you have an educated populace that prevents a lot of the things that you're having patched later on down the road. So by coming here tonight, you have chosen to be part of creating that image, or to create that education in the world. Next slide, please. And so what I would like to do, or what the project would like to do, is make a measurable contribution. And so this isn't just like, hey, let's take some money and throw it towards an organization, throw it towards a spreadsheet. You don't know where it goes. A measurable contribution is something that says, this is where money's been applied, and this is what it's created. So that way you can feel like this money created this thing, and you can stand for that, and you can see it, and it's there, and it works, and it provides something that did not exist before. And what I would like that measurable contribution to be is a primary school in the tsunami-affected regions of Southeast Asia. Now, as everyone here knows, there was a tsunami in 2005. It wrecked a lot of Sri Lanka and Indonesia's infrastructure and killed thousands and thousands of people. A lot of their schools were destroyed, and many of them are still not rebuilt. So this, to me, is an opportunity to contribute to that society on a global level and say, let's create education where it didn't exist before. So why do this? There are a lot of places to give your money, a lot of places to make contributions, and what I'd like to address to you is kind of to answer why would you might be interested in doing this. So this, again, as I talked about before, is an opportunity to create a future and to make a measurable mark on the world and give our youngest citizens a chance that they did not have before. So again, this isn't about patching something, it's about creating something in our own image, saying this is a future that we want to create, and this is something that we want to go and do. And to make that difference together within our community. So if there's just one person doing it, or an organization doing it, by saying like the Seattle community has come together, or this community has come together and said, we're going to proactively make something in the world that wasn't there before. And by making that school, you have a nice little plaque on it, and that school will exist and educate hundreds of kids a year and create opportunities that do not exist before in that community. So there are lots of ways to do it, and now I'm going to get to the room to read part, which you might have noticed in the upper left-hand corner. This particular organization, I think, is a great tool to achieve this, and it's a way to achieve it in a very measurable and responsible way, such that you don't feel like you're just giving your money over to someone who says they're going to go do something. We've been around for 6 years. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this organization, but first I want to talk a little bit more about what education can do, especially in developing nations, and why I think this is kind of the root to a lot of the other problems that get patched later on down the road. And to me, this is not a patch, but a solution for building the future. And that is the education linchpin. So, education, and I've got some nice bullet points up here. You can read those. But the ones that really stick out in my mind are the fact that for every year that a girl remains in primary school or remains in school, her earnings increase an average of 10 to 20%. And we're not talking about the United States here. We're talking about developing nations, which is where the school is built. And infant mortality decreases by 8% for every year a girl is educated. And women pass on the value of that education to their progeny. It's certainly worthwhile to educate boys too. I'm not saying that you wouldn't want to do that. But by educating a female, you educate a family. By educating a female, you educate the future. By educating a female, you create a new future where that is something that's part of that community, as opposed to something that's just for one specific person. And in a lot of the countries and societies in the world, there is a lot of gender bias against educating women. So that kind of perpetuates the problem. So by being able to educate females early on and keep them in primary schools, then you have that future education potential that didn't exist before, whereas you wouldn't quite get that with educating a boy. But again, I'm not saying we're not educating boys, I'm just saying that educating girls is really the cornerstone to educating families and the future. So Room to Read is an organization based out of San Francisco. They're a 501(c) nonprofit organization, and I think that they have a unique ability to make this task work, to help us as a community make that school happen, and for a couple of different reasons. One, they have less than 15% overhead, which for an NGO is really quite good. It used to be under 10%, and it's recently gone up a little bit based on the expansion that they've been doing as far as moving into new countries. But it's still very, very low. The second one is metrics driven, which I think is very important because this takes away the ambiguity of what your money is going to. So instead of making an anonymous donation, you're saying, here is this amount of money produces this end result. And it's very measurable to the point where once you have the funds are committed, you can actually have your name on whatever it is that we decide to build. It addresses the core issue of education, like I've been talking about. And this one is also very paramount for me. And it only places a school in a community that commits to the project. So this is not building a school or building something like manna from heaven, where you just plop a school is built in the jungle. And then like, oh, we're going to use it. That's not the case. There's a twofold benefit for building these only in communities where the community itself is engaged and driven to build these schools. So Room to Read will partner with the community through the government of the host countries and identify an area where a community wants a school, where they say, yes, we'd love to have a school here, but we just can't because we don't have the resources. And then Room to Read acts as kind of a catalyst for that community by providing materials or providing books or providing things that aren't available in the local economy. And the community itself, kind of like our community, actually does all the work and builds the school by providing the labor. They provide the school teachers, they provide bricks, they provide other domestic building materials, whatever they can themselves. So you don't have a lot of NGO people or people from around the world coming into the community and then building something in front of them. This organization empowers those communities to build it themselves so that they are the ones building the school, they are the ones creating the education for their children and their future, and they are the ones who are committed to creating this. So that Room to Read is just like, they're a small facilitator, but really, in order for that school to work, in order for it to be permanent, in order for it to really create that future of education, the community itself has to want it and has to be able to build it themselves, which is why this order really, to me, strikes me as very effective.